So in honor of my first ever TikTok reaching 15,000 views, I figured you guys would appreciate a tour of my 35-hour castle build. Oh, actually, I'm going to turn on my shaders before I do that. Assuming it won't crash my game. Fingers crossed. Oh, it liked me that time. Heck yeah. There we go. Yeah, so this is my 35-hour castle build. It was just a little bit over 35. I kind of lost track towards the end. But it was all based on this picture that I'm going to put up on screen. It was the only picture that I could find a reference in this style that I liked, that was just about the right size for what I wanted to do. It was the only picture I could find. I couldn't find a source for it. Had been like from Pinterest, but the source was no longer valid. So I had to steal it from online and save it to my computer and go based off that. But basically I used that to, and I kind of counted the blocks to kind of determine the spacing of what the front was going to look like. And then based on that was sort of where I started, and then I just sort of started filling in the gaps with rooms and designs and things like that. So starting out, we have the throne room. I really wanted this to be the centerpiece of the entire castle, obviously, because that's really important. You know, especially for my character. I wanted her to have a nice, interesting chair to sit in. Not that you can really sit in Minecraft, but, you know, you get the idea. I'm really proud of the sort of back piece. I'm going to close this just so you can see the full sort of unbroken look of it. But I really wanted this sort of backdrop for the throne to be mostly end materials, because that's, you know, that's her whole character is based around the end dimension. I am in survival, so I'm going to have to eat. I'm going to try to edit around that, but my apologies if it doesn't quite get cut out. But yeah, her whole character is based on the end dimension, so I do have a dragon egg in that item frame there. But so that's the throne room. I really wanted it to be big and imposing and dramatic, and I think I really nailed it with the walkway up there and, you know, the big imposing throne with the end rods down the side that kind of look like ribs to me. I just think it looks really cool like that. I also posted these wither skulls on the end rods because, again, like, intimidation is like a big factor. I wanted it to be really big and imposing and dramatic. Now you'll notice a lot of this castle is built out of snow blocks, just because they're easier to obtain in survival mode. I was not gonna try to recreate this in any sort of survival world with all quartz. As cool as it would look, I have a little bit more of a life than that. Just a little bit more. But as a result, it means that these walls are not very structurally sound. You can tunnel through them very easily, which is a problem, you know, if you're using them for actual defense. But most of the kind of the secrets of this castle are all based on not really knowing that things are there, rather than physical defense that you would get with like blackstone or obsidian walls. I get random presents sometimes because I put all this flaming soul soil in the room. That is also why everything's soul lanterns mostly. End rods, yes, but mostly soul lanterns and soul fire, because it won't melt snow or ice, which is what these sort of decorative stripes on the wall are made of regular ice that would melt. But with the addition of the soul torches and soul fire, it just makes things really pretty. I love the teal color. But yeah, going into the, what would this be? The sun, this would be the south wing, rises in the east. So the sun sets behind or rises behind the castle, which was entirely accidental. I wanted it to be, you know, the northern castle. I thought it would be really cool if, you know, you came from the south and walked up to this castle in the north. Unfortunately, when I started building, I didn't realize that that was what I had done, where it actually is set on the east to west axis, until it was too late. So, you know, it's on the east to west. Sun rises behind the castle and then sets. The good news is if you're sitting on the throne, you can watch a really cool sunset behind that little hill over there. So that's cool. So yeah, that would make this the north wing. So in the north wing we have, which you guys have seen in one of my other videos, this is the dining room. I should probably pop into creative to be able to show everything, but essentially this is, you know, the dining and entertaining space. It's, you know, it's got its own little kitchen. All these banners would be banners of neighboring countries or cities, which is why I kind of did the subtle reference to the Dream SMP with the L'Manberg flag. I believe it's L'Manberg, is what L'Manberg looks like. I found a very quick reference online. And then the sort of Team Chaos flag, just because I didn't really have any other designs to put in here. And then I also found this, which I would use, or I'm planning to use, when I recreate this castle on the other side of the Nether portal, in sort of fire aesthetic instead of ice, which was sort of what started all this. I wanted an ice castle. I've always wanted an ice castle in Minecraft. It's just up until now I hadn't really had like the skill level to get what I, you know, really wanted. But yeah, so you've got your little kitchen here, all the amenities. You've got your, I like to do this as like an aesthetic for like a keg, even though there's nothing in it. I just think it looks cool. And then you have your brewing stands. You got your infinite water source, cauldron for aesthetic, which is like a sink with the lever placed there. Smoker, furnace, refrigerator is how I like to do my fridges, because you can actually put things here and have them spit out. And then just more storage barrels. Crafting table is a must, and then for renaming anything, there's a really subtle anvil under the chest. Just because I like to rename foods and drinks, because I think it's more fun. Then we have a stage up here. It was going to be in my last video, The Visitor, with my friend Joe. We actually did a whole little sequence here with the pig step disc that I have. I did spawn that in, don't at me. I will say this entire build was done in creative because I, again, have a little bit more of a life than probably most builders do. And I really didn't want to spend, you know, 300 or more hours on this. I just wanted to be able to get out the video idea that I had as quickly as possible. So I did do this in creative, and I spawned in a lot of things like this pig step disc. So my friend Joe and I did this whole little sequence up here with my character, you know, just vibing up here as a performer, doing a little dance. Unfortunately, I didn't make it into the final cut of the video, but maybe I'll release an uncut version at some point. And then we have the little servants sort of eating area. Obviously, you know, in medieval culture, servants were considered, you know, lesser status, so they would have their own separate spots to eat food. But, you know, I felt like it was, you know, I needed to do something with this space, and I felt like it would be nice for the servants to have somewhere to eat that wasn't at the big high table with all the important fancy guests. I haven't really thought about lore-wise who all those guests might be, but, you know, if the SMP continues long enough, I might be able to fill those flags in with some factions. Like, I don't think the Badlands have a faction yet, so, or have a flag, at least not that I've seen. So I may be able to put that in there too. And then we go out to this courtyard. This is, you know, sort of a training area. I had a bunch of, like, armor stands out here with, like, skeleton skulls on them, but they seem to have disappeared, and I'm not sure why. And then a melee sparring area. This is all gravel under the snow, but, you know, I kind of like it with the snow on the ground, so I just kind of left it alone. Plus, it doesn't fall all the way, because some of this is still under, like, an overhang. So I like how kind of messy it looks. But yeah, it's like a sparring area for any guards or any sort of standing army that would be on call. And then we have our, I think you've seen this in my other video as well, there's a water elevator, and then on the opposite side there's the down. And this leads up to this walkway here, which, you know, overlooks the, you know, all the land in the area. There's a lot of banners up here too. There's no actual walkway in here because this just leads to like that inner hallway, but and you'll see like, yeah, there's like the room, the main entry hall. But up here there's a walkway, which I'll show in a little bit on the other part of the tour. But up here is again, this was all in my visitor video, is guest room number 1. This would be the north guest room. There's an exact replica of this in the other tower. I think maybe if I were to recreate this, I would change these bedrooms around just a little bit, just to make them different from each other. Honestly, I didn't really have a lot of bedroom ideas. I had this idea for this changing area, which didn't really go over as well as I think I could have done. But at this point, when I was decorating the bedroom, I was running on like maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep at that point. So I'm like, okay, you know, maybe some design ideas should have been saved for later times. But at that point, I had just spent, you know, already about 30 hours into this build, and I was just very tired and ready to call it a day. So, so yeah, this little changing area. There's the armor stand to, you know, hang up your clothes. This was meant to look like a mirror that you could examine yourself in. I don't know how well that reads, honestly. I do kind of wish they'd add like a decorative mirror into Minecraft, but I don't know how difficult that would be to code. So and then all these banners meant to be like dividers to kind of shield someone from view as they changed, but honestly it doesn't do a very good job, so I might change this again out into something else that actually blocks a little bit more of a view. And again, I think you can see the sunset in the distance and the moon rises behind the castle. But yeah, these towers are really tall, and the bedroom ceilings are really tall. They have things up there in the sense that there's just like a pillar with a fire, like a signal fire on it. But yeah, you can't actually get up there without elytra or ender pearls. And there's not really anything up there anyway. Some of these inner towers you can actually get into, but the outermost towers are actually pretty empty. Again, mostly because I was running on like, 4 or 5 hours of sleep at that point, so I was just kind of done with the build and ready to move on to other things, especially considering in my video that I really didn't need those towers to be filled with things in order to actually make the video. And then we're going to move on to the this would be the south wing. So in the south wing, again, in the visitor video, you see the bathhouse. I think my friend Joe does a really good job of sort of showing things off. Let me get a nice, maybe thumbnail or something there. We have all these armor stands with bath slippers. Yes, they're all labeled. Yes, they all have Frostwalker. Because in order to sit in the bath, it's all, I think you saw it in the visitor video, all of these are magma floor. Yeah, stop. Which will damage you. So it's important to have the bath slippers because it will negate the damage. But it does the really nice bubble effect for the bath. Oops, can't see it. There we go. And I really wanted that, so that's why all the baths have magma floors. And I just implemented the bath slippers as a countermeasure. But I'm really proud of the bathhouse. I think it turned out really gorgeous, especially considering I used all this warm wood, which everywhere else in the castle has the warped, that warped nether wood. But this is the only part in the castle where I really went all out with the spruce, spruce wood, trapdoors, half slabs. This is all half slabs. Most of the castle is half slab in an effort to cut down on mob spawning, just because it is so inconvenient to deal with mobs and mob sounds all the time. And it's also really inconvenient to have to place torches everywhere. It doesn't look aesthetic at all. It's just, to have like torches every 5 or 7 blocks or whatever just looks really, really dumb. I hate how it looks. I'm also really proud of the floor in here, in the sense that I did these little designs with the staircases to do like these sort of paths in order to lead into the different areas. Yeah, I'm just still really proud of that. I did bamboo at different heights. I cut them off with string. That's a little builder tip. If you want like sugarcane or anything that grows, sugarcane, bamboo, even trees, I think you can block off the growth with just a little piece of string on the ground, which are usually meant to attach to tripwire hooks, you know, as part of the actual game mechanics. But for me, I like to use it for my builds because they're invisible unless you look really closely, and you're able to just stop the growth wherever you want it at, so that these will never, I'll never have to trim these down. They'll just stay at this height. It's really convenient. I love these water columns as well. I think it really adds to, especially with the shaders on, they look really good. They look really cool with the shaders and everything to make the bathhouse just look really aesthetic. And then the little flower pots and stuff. There's also these little pots, these little cauldrons of water, because you can actually fit your character model into them, and just kind of shift a couple times, just crouch a few times to wash yourself off and then hop right out. You know, for like servants or quick baths or anything like that. And then, you know, you go back to the changing room, you swap out your armor and your put your bath slippers back, and you head out back into the rest of the castle. And then out here, the garden again was featured in my visitor video. Really proud of this. I'm not a huge fan of how the lava looks in the texture pack, or in the shader pack I'm using. But there is glass to prevent it from, you know, combining and just making obsidian, especially considering that, you know, I am in a snow biome, so it becomes very difficult to keep the water as water instead of ice. And I really don't want the fish to get trapped in the ice, so they're really lively. I might want to take a fish or two out of there. But yeah, I decorated the bottom, you know, just to be aesthetic. And again, with the sugarcane and the, oops, I don't want to be in the water. With the sugarcane and bamboo, I put the string on top to make sure that it didn't grow any taller. Yeah, so I pretty much just, you know, scattered flowers around and things like that with the warped wood fences, just to kind of tie it all together as like a little garden space, just a little pond, you know, just even in the frozen north, you know, you just need a little space to like look at some greenery. That's just a human, that's like scientifically, that is just a human need, is to just look at plants. So I wanted to include that in my castle design. And then moving on, we have my little animal pen. I think there may have been a glimpse of this in my video, in the second visitor video. I think a creeper just blew up, but it's fine. I have creeper explosions turned off for this specific reason, because I really didn't want, these walls are not sturdy. They will not withstand creeper attacks. But yeah, I just have this little animal pen full of pretty much one of every type of animal. There's a little water trough back there for them to drink out of, and they just kind of vibe in here. I don't really use them because, again, this isn't my survival base. Did I say that yet? I don't know. This isn't my survival base. Yeah, I don't live here. I just kind of built this as a set. So I didn't really put a lot of detail into mechanics of how, you know, a player might live in here. But, you know, assuming I have to rebuild this, then I would definitely put a lot more thought into, you know, the actual functionality of it. Yeah, so the water elevator in this tower leads all the way up to the top of the building. Almost the tippy top. There's the very top of the castle, but this is one of the highest towers that, again, looks out over the domain. And you can tell that my focus was on the castle because there's all that, like, all those little ice ponds that I probably should have terraformed out. But honestly, again, it was reaching the end of the build, and I was very tired. I just couldn't be bothered. Now, you'll notice on these elevators, there are these little platforms to stop. However, if you are not in creative mode, or those are half slabs, so the water doesn't quite work, like a water bucket wouldn't work, you can't actually get up there from here. And I did that very on purpose. I did that as a specific design choice because I wanted there to be an entire section of the castle that wasn't really reachable by means of guests. I just wanted guests to, you know, have the focus in the main castle, and then the actual residents or resident of the castle would have more, like more free reign. So then this tower also has the dungeon, which I had this idea because, you know, I was thinking, oh, you know, if a guest comes in and they turn out to be not very friendly, you know, instead of just being, you know, killed and sent back to wherever they came from, you know, maybe my character might need to imprison someone. So in this case, you know, her guards would escort, well, and this is all like theoretical in like the past when there would actually be like the royal family, in the sense of like they had a full staff of guards. So, you know, I was like, oh, you know, we'll do like a dungeon. So, you know, if there is an unruly guest or anything like that, you know, somebody hostile, then they could take them captive and bring them down here to the prison. Oh, that's the pressure plate, I forgot. And imprison them in an obsidian box with only one way out. Now, I'll admit I'm not a huge fan of warp fence sort of door wall. I don't know what to call it. But I wanted to be able to see in there because that's like the whole point. And if you walk all the way up to the door, then it just opens it. So I may swap this out at some point to be a little bit more functional. But as of now, I think it works okay for what I use it for, which currently isn't anything. It's just here to look aesthetic. So down this hallway, there's nothing. This is just a flat wall. I didn't even quite finish the texturing on the wall over here. Because, again, I had hit the end of the build around this point. I was just going in and doing last few details. But on this side, I wanted there to be like a maximum security sort of like VIP prisoner cell. So I hung this from the ceiling using grindstones. It is an obsidian box with iron bars, but there's no actual door on it, so the prisoner would just be sealed in with obsidian. And suspended over lava and magma with no real way out. Yeah, so I also detailed the walls in stone. I don't know if you can see from here. I'm gonna try to parkour this a little bit. I also detailed the walls a little bit just because it was really boring to just have flat walls. I may, for the next time I design this, I may punch those designs into the wall a little more. And just have them inset farther rather than punch outwards, because now that I'm looking at it, I think it looks just a touch odd, but yeah. But I think the aesthetic of this like suspended trap, it's suspended cell, is just really cool. I love the idea of like prison cells, honestly. Like, I love the aesthetic of it. Not the idea of it. Being in a prison cell sucks, like, regardless of anything, but I like the aesthetic of a prisoner. And in media, and in fiction, I think prisoners are really, really interesting characters. And really good opportunities for, like, you know, using past villains. You know, you put them in prison so you don't have to kill them, because in my opinion, villains are often the most interesting characters in any story. Even more so than heroes oftentimes. So, you know, anytime that they imprison a villain rather than just kill them outright, I am totally on board. But yeah, so basically that's like the whole public half of the castle. You know, sort of like guest space, areas that like, you know, would be very public and forward facing. And then you press this button behind the throne, which, you know, in, I'm gonna say in medieval culture, I don't want to pretend that I'm like an authority on medieval culture, because I'm not. I am a nerd, but I know very little about a lot. But in my head, essentially, like my headcanon, it would be, you know, the back of the throne isn't somewhere that, you know, a guest would really be allowed, especially like, you know, guests wouldn't be allowed this close to the throne in general. You know, this sort of platform is for royalty, and, you know, their guards would probably stand here and here and, you know, prevent anyone from getting too close. So putting a button behind the throne would be a really safe place to be, because, you know, not a lot of people would go back here. But yeah, you whack the button and it opens this piston doorway, and then I'm gonna close it behind me just for safety. But the very first thing that you're greeted with is the Nether portal, and I think at some point I'm gonna go through the Nether, and I'm gonna recreate a mirror image of this castle in the Nether with the fire aesthetic versus the ice aesthetic, just because I have a problem. I know how I said a little earlier that I kind of have a life, but I also, like, don't. I don't really have a life. So, yeah, I'm gonna recreate this 35-hour build in the Nether for fun, because it's aesthetic, and I love it. And just, like, in my head, in, like, the canon of my character, my thought was, like, okay, so she belongs to this, like, lineage of this great empire. There's no way that they wouldn't have, like, a version of this in the Nether, or at the very least, like, an outpost in the Nether at some point. Because it's so important just in, like, Minecraft as a video game. Like, it's important to have, like, you know, something in the Nether to return to, you know, get supplies and resources and things like that. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't have, like, a castle in the Nether. So yeah, anyway, that's basically what it boils down to, is I'm gonna just go and do, like, a mirror image of the castle in the Nether, because, I mean, the Nether is like an inversion of the overworld, really. It's just like a parallel world. So why not have a parallel castle? But yeah, so that's the Nether portal. If you look back here, this didn't really get shown too much in the video because there wasn't a lot of time, but it's just a little bit of an aesthetic. So if you're coming out of the Nether, then, you know, you kind of get this cool, almost entryway vibe, except it's, you know, reversed, because the real entryway is on the other side. I'm gonna start with this hallway. So on the either side of here, I did kind of just fill space with farms. This is when I kind of had the afterthought of, like, oh, maybe a character is actually living here. And it's the same on the other side. This is for, you know, carrots, potatoes, and wheat, and then I think it's all beetroot on the other one. I'll probably skip that on the tour, just to save time, but basically, yeah, like, I had the thought of, like, okay, maybe there's just somebody actually living here, they're gonna need to eat. So, and I also had, like, those gaps pretty much under these, because I had these hallways that weren't really finished, and then I had, or, I mean, they were done, but they didn't have, there was a gap there that didn't have anything in it, and I didn't really just not want to use the space. So I just filled it with farms. And then back here we have, like, I guess the backyard, for lack of a better word. I think I'll go out and I'll show the back of the castle once the tour's over, but basically this sort of walkway would just show you, like, oh, look, it's more beautiful land, you know, owned by the family. And these towers are basically empty. I, again, was reaching the end of the build and I just didn't really have any ideas for what to put in them. I think if I were to recreate this, I will fill them with at least something, maybe like some lounge areas, or maybe break it up into some, like, servant quarter bedrooms, things like that. But yeah, they're pretty much just empty floors for now. But yeah, coming up to this extra floor here, we have these, like, bridges that I'm really proud of, that I think look aesthetic, that lead into this, like, sort of communal space between the two towers that lead up into the, this is the royal bedroom. It's kind of bare bones in the sense that, like, you know, you own the castle. You really don't need to keep, like, all your valuables in here because you have a vault for that. You don't really need to keep, like, a desk in here because you have, like, again, you have, like, a vault for that. You know, the kitchen, don't need to keep food in here because we have a kitchen downstairs, like, you know. So it's pretty bare bones. I think I may at some point come back in and decorate maybe the walls a little bit more because they're pretty sparse. But I am pretty impressed with the bed. I'm really proud of it. It's, you know, it's functional. I can sleep in it. But it also looks really pretty. Especially because I love the color of this wood. It's just my favorite. But coming up these stairs, you can see this leads out into a balcony where you can address the subjects or the intruders, as it may be. Very important to have a lot of balconies in your castle build. There's my dog. I think, in my perspective of that recording of the visitor video, I had looked at my dog. This is where the elytra would be on the other side. There's currently nothing hanging there. Oh no, they're in there. Yeah, because it's like, you know, a centerpiece of sort of the whole world and lore of this sort of character premise, in that, you know, that was their secret. They discovered the secret that the end exists. They discovered how to get there, and once they got there, then they conquered the cities and found the secret to fly. Is basically how the lore in my head went. But yeah, basically, actually I'm gonna go ahead and fly out here to show the back of the castle. So I tried to make the back as aesthetic as I could too, considering, there you go. Just because, you know, if you're a person walking around out here, then odds are, I mean, there's like a 50% chance that you're going to go through the front door, and there's a 50% chance that you're going to walk around it to get somewhere else. And, you know, I hate things that just look good on one side, so I just wanted to make the back look, you know, somewhat cooler too. So there's a lot of like detailing and stuff on the back. There's also this sort of like half balcony that lets you look down, you know, on the area. I don't think you can walk through these. Oh no, you can. Oops. Yeah, this is fine. So yeah, so that's like the master suite, essentially, is the bed in this area that would probably work as like a lounge area if I'd actually put any furniture in here. And then it leads back into this other tower on this side. But yeah, so that's basically the towers and the back part of the castle. So from there, oops. Okay, yeah, there's this area I haven't shown yet. So from here, this is where the nether portal is, and there's this upper area that leads out onto this glass walkway where you can see the chandelier. Let's see if I do have my bow. Here's my pickaxe. Kill this spider really quick. So it leads out onto this glass pathway that will lead up. This tower leads up to another guard tower, through another water elevator. Oh, I hate that's so dark. That was bad. So yeah, this leads up to a tower, and then there's a ladder to the very tippy top. But again, like, to, you know, watch over do like patrols and stuff to watch over the kingdom, or the empire, you know, in its heyday. To, you know, keep things safe. So yeah, so this is like another little guard tower, but again, like, this is accessed by, you know, coming through the private area. So the queen's, or, you know, well, I guess the queen, because, you know, she is the queen now, but the queen's guard would be on patrol, you know, up here during like the late hours, and, you know, be keeping an eye on things. So this is where this like platform leads. So these are like entrance only sort of doorways if you need to go down or you need to go up. So on the other side of this sort of crystal looking walkway, which I think looks really aesthetic with the stained glass. It looks a lot like ice. Sometimes ice looks great, and sometimes stained glass looks better than ice, and it's really just a toss up of which it's going to be. And to this like study area where it's like a library sort of area with like a ladder to climb the bookshelves, you know. And there's like another little study area over here. So this is just kind of like a lounge / library. Maybe some chests could be over here with like you know, written books and notes and things like that in them, or maybe just set into the bookcase over here too. But this leads out to another balcony, and this balcony we've actually been on before. This leads into the guest rooms, which again we've seen before. So yeah, so this is like the one other entry point other than finding the sort of secret button. This is the one other entry point into the guest rooms that would lead into the other part of the castle, like the less private or less public part. Everything's covered in a fun layer of snow because, you know, it's the north. It's just kind of how the biome is. But then back into these last couple areas. So at the very bottom, so in this tower I went up. There's actually a lower down portion which was shown in my visitor video. Ouch. Oh, it's open. I don't remember leaving this open. Ah, there was a zombie in there. I'll deal with him later. But yeah, so basically this leads down into the vault. So I made this sort of dummy, you know, sort of entryway, and then I made the real one. Just because, you know, in a survival world, you really have to be careful with who you let know where your valuables are. So I built this, I set up this redstone door. Hello. Ah, you're stuck. I set up this redstone door to, you know, disguise where, which one of these would open. And I also, you know, you can just remove this lever, and once you do, it just closes it up, back up. And now it's like, oh, which one of these is actually a valid door? We don't know. I do. I know the secret. So yeah, so you come down into this little corridor into the vault. Now I will say all these chests are empty. They are just here for aesthetics. I should probably have labeled these potions because then I would remember what they're supposed to do. But yeah, so it's just like, hey, store all your weapons and gear here. There's a little shrine to, you know, ring a bell and pray. I put like a wither rose there, and end rod, you know, just as like a, I don't even know, religious symbolism, I guess. There's, you know, sets of armor back here. There's a jukebox to get hyped up before the fight. There's an ender chest. Just got a lot of important stuff in it for me because I actually do play survival on this world. Brewing stands, things like that. And just like resource chests, you know? Enchantment table, which up to level 30. Anvils, and then double bonus, these chains from the ceiling are grindstones, so you can just use those as grindstones. And then I have the smithing tables back here. With the, you know, half slab floor to prevent mobs from spawning. Although it didn't seem to work. It probably is this hallway that didn't quite hit the mark on the light level, so I may have to fix that. But yeah, so this is the vault. I put a lot of the banners up in the back of like the Empire's flag. I did find that design online. I may be able to find it again to give credit. But yeah, so I set up the vault, and then in the other tower, which didn't get a lot of publicity, this was all in my visitor video, but on the other side it didn't get a lot of publicity because it was only in my original lore video, is this drop straight down here. And the reason that I came all the way out here to build in the north, the far north of my world, is because I wanted to be able to build on top of a stronghold, because it was really important to the lore that my character's castle be built on top of a stronghold and connected to a stronghold, which, as you can see, I just repurposed, you know, the actual stronghold, just made it much more aesthetic, because, you know, that was the whole thing with her lore, was that her family found the secrets of the end, and the, you know, the stronghold, they found the ancient strongholds and the ancient portals, And, you know, we're able to wrest their secrets from them. So I decorated the entire path all the way along to the portal room, and I worked really hard on the, I hemmed and hawed over the design of this room a lot, because I really wanted it to feel like just so otherworldly and like different from everything else in this build, because it is. Like, the end is a completely different dimension filled with strange creatures that they, you know, the characters in the lore don't understand really, and, you know, full of ancient secrets that have now been lost to history. And so it's just like, you know, I wanted it to feel otherworldly, and so I feel like I really nailed it with the ends, the way I used the end stone and the purpur blocks, which again, like, you can only get these in the end cities with the chorus fruits, and then with the obsidian accents to just make it look like the dragon fight with the, you know, the giant obsidian pillars. Can I talk? The giant obsidian pillars, and you know, the lava coming down. I love this. You'll see this pretty much everywhere in like all of my builds. I love columns of things from the ceiling, be it water columns or lava columns. I just love giant columns held in by like fence gates and iron bars and things like that. And I also decorated the walls with iron bars, because again, like, that's part of like the dragon fight, is the iron bars with the obsidian pillars and the end stones. So I just really wanted it to feel a lot like that. There's another chandelier over the portal. Yeah, and then, you know, normally these portals have like little lava pits just beneath them, but I was like, oh, what if we just made that bigger? And so I did. And so I expanded it out and made this room a full circle, and just put all the lava everywhere. And then, you know, with these giant pillars, I also did a lot of detailing on the ceiling. There's like stone stairs and stone half slabs up there to make it more textured, to make it feel more like just a natural cave ceiling. And I feel like I did an okay job. I'm not the best at realistic texture, not gonna lie, but, you know, I did my best. And I also did a lot of these like end stone and end bricks and obsidian into the stronghold walls, because I really wanted it to feel like the end dimension was leaching out of the portal and into the overworld. So I wanted it to feel like, you know, it was slowly corrupting, you know, just the very walls of the place that it was, you know, kind of sealed away. So that's the tour, guys. Really glad that you stuck around to check it out. Thank you so much for almost 15,000 views on my very first TikTok. I can't thank you guys enough. It really means a lot to me that people really liked my story idea. So just be sure to leave a like, comment. I love hearing your guys' comments. But I don't know when my next video will be out. I'm just kind of busy right now with a lot of work stuff, but thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.